Lebanon County Board of Commissioners to order. It's a tradition to begin our meeting. As soon as we get these ladies seated, we will begin with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Can you join me? Please stand. Flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item is to invite public comment this morning. Mr. Schroeder, I believe you had requested to advance to speak, so you may start.
Great. Thank you very much. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michael Schroeder, and I live in South Annandale Township. I'm just going to read the letter that I'll be submitting in hard copy and digitally later today. Dear Lebanon County Commissioners, District Attorney Graff, and Sheriff Marley. I write as a county resident to express further concern about our county's various Section 287G agreements with ICE. How the county will respond to the Pennsylvania County's risk pool, P Corp, recent decision to exclude 287G related liability coverage beginning June 1. I acknowledge the county officials' original intent to promote collaboration among local and federal law enforcement agencies and to gain us new funding. However, P Corp's actions bring forth two new issues. Number one is liability. What are the true risks pertaining to civil rights, immigration law, other compliance issues, potential conflicts between federal, state, and local laws? And secondly, insurance cost. Would the county consider self-insuring, appealing to ICE to indemnify us, securing additional excess liability coverage, and at what cost? As you know, a group of citizens and I have previously expressed other misgivings, and these include, number one, delayed reimbursements. As structured, the program offers limited reimbursement and only after officer participation in federal law enforcement actions, detention, transport, booking, or warrant service before funding is realized. Butler County has been waiting for 1 year without seeing a single dollar. Secondly, is hidden costs. Several jurisdictions report unreimbursed overtime, administrative burden, equipment, and training expenses. And third is mission drift. Local officers may be diverted from core public safety duties. There's also a reputational cost. Tying our local police departments and federal and local law enforcement agencies to federal immigration enforcement risks eroding community trust without clear evidence of a local need. By Sheriff Marley's public accounts, the undocumented individuals in our county's criminal system are limited in number and already effectively tracked. He has essentially denied any evidence of local gang activity or other worst of the worst criminality that is beyond the capacity of local law enforcement to manage. In short, these agreements appear to expose the county to cost, risk, and community harm without a commensurate public safety benefit, and now add to that uninsured liability. I respectfully ask our elected officials' response to P Corp's impending policy amendment. I further encourage the commissioners to pass a resolution declaring that they strongly discourage county agencies, officers, and officials from entering into 287G agreements with ICE. Relatedly, I urge county officials and agencies to rescind the 287G agreements previously agreed to and instead focus on local policing priorities. Finally, I urge county officials and agencies to consider whether this development underscores the principle that immigration policy is best addressed at a federal level, not through ad hoc local law enforcement partnerships with federal agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Some public up, sir.
So can I comment real quick? Is that okay?
Sure.
Just to, so that is true with P Corp, okay? But what also wasn't released with that statement was they no longer cover school resource officers that sheriff's offices had in the school districts. There's also other places that sheriff's office provided services to for like self-protection. Those services have no longer been covered. So it's more than just the 287G program. So there's a host of it because it's a hot button topic. That's part of it. Second off, there is alternative insurance that we are looking into. So we still are able to, if we would have to go and maybe go to a school and provide services there or something along that line. So that way we do have that coverage for the liability. Secondly, the money that is reimbursed from the government, we can use towards that program. So again, there would be alternative coverage for the sheriff's office and the district attorney's office. It's just that it wouldn't be through P Corp. Also that state, the agreement that we signed with the federal government, again, when you're doing the work for them, they assume the risk. Okay, so it wouldn't go back unless somebody was doing something totally egregious that the feds wouldn't cover, but then again, the county wouldn't cover it either because of it being something that's totally out of line. So I hope that answers.
I don't think it's
some of
something
that.
for me to respond, so.
But I'm just saying, if you'd like to talk afterwards,
Sure.
that I could be more than happy to accommodate Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Dr. Thomas Overholt, live in Cornwall.
I'm sorry, Dr. Overall, can just pause for a minute, or do you want to wait till he's,
Well, I just,
Jamie wanted to say something?
just before we get off of that topic, I'm sorry.
Sure, no
Just wanted-
problem.
Your first question was, what's the county's response to P Corp? So there really isn't a response from the county. P Corp is the county's carrier. It's Pennsylvania County Risk Pool. They only provide coverage exclusively to Pennsylvania counties. It's a captive insurance product. So there's no response. Essentially, they've communicated this to member counties. It wasn't a change in terms of excluding this coverage suddenly. As the sheriff alluded, there are other parts of liability that P Corp has excluded. The action that was recently taken was to clarify it by further defining the exclusion to include 287G. It wouldn't have been covered a year ago or 2 years ago, but with this much attention on it and so on, a lot of counties, it was coming up in a lot of counties as it is here. And so P Corp took the action to further define it. So there really isn't a response.
Well, when
It is what it is because, your insurance carrier tells you what they cover and they don't cover, and you don't get to respond and change that. So go ahead.
I'm sorry, wouldn't the response be to Sheriff Barley is indicating to seek new insurance,
Yeah,
other insurance?
possibly, yes.
Because you
But-
can't go
but-
uninsured.
But the Sheriff's Association has been seeking some alternatives to that. And as he said, and as I understand it, the 287G funds can support the cost of that premium, whatever it is. I'm not familiar with what coverage is out there or what can be had. That's not been presented to the county at all. But, and then as he said, the way it really should work is if there is an incident or a claim, then it has to be determined, was that activity under the county's direction and control, or under ICE's direction and control? And then that will direct who's responsible for coverage. So there may well be an incident that starts out as a sheriff incident, but evolves into an ICE incident. So it depends, when the particular activity generated the claim, and that determines who will provide coverage. As he said, the agreement does say, I think it says that the federal government or DHS may provide a defense for representation. So it would only be in the case that it wasn't a county activity that generated the claim, or DHS denied representation, that it would fall into that gap, I'll call it, that I think you're pointing out. And that's where I understand there is some coverage and it can be funded by.
And for example, something that also came about as a result of this P Corp thing was our county task force, like our drug task force, our SWAT team. It used to be that all the members from outside agencies got sworn in as a special detective. And because we were believed that we were under the coverage of P Corp, that has now since been defined that it's only for county employees. So there for a while, our drug task force and our SWAT team was kind of in limbo because until we could work out coverages for the non-county employees. So it just wasn't the 287G thing that came about with people. There was a host of things that, again, with the task forces, luckily we didn't have an issue. It would have been horrible to find out. Luckily, we found out before we had any issues and we were able to make provisions for that.
So if the DA's office is out investigating, doing a drug detail, and the people they're investigating are illegal immigrants, and something happens in the course of that investigation, I just see a lot of gray area here, and I don't know if Jamie, since you worked a lot with P Corp, want to comment on that, or the commissioner want to comment on that, but it just seems like there's a lot of gray area here that at what point in time did it delineate from a drug investigation to now it's an immigration issue? And I just seem like this is going to be tied up in the courts if something like that were to occur, because when did it kick in? As Jamie just said a minute ago, when did it start to kick in that it changed from a drug investigation to an ICE operation?
I think anything like that starts off gray and is sorted out through the process of, civil litigation, through discovery, through analyzing the facts, and et cetera. It may not be initially obvious whose claim that is to defend.
Yeah.
Until it basically pans out, to see, for example, if something occurs where, let's say, the moment someone is discovered to be here illegally and now ICE gets involved, is there a telephone call, for example, to or from ICE to say, detain them? Well, if the DAs or the sheriffs detains them, it seems that was a point in time at which the liability shifted away and onto the federal government's defense. So, but they're not all going to be crystal clear if they happen at all. So it is gray. I'd agree with that. It's gray until it's clear.
Right. And to share from Harley's point, I'm still confused because I've read that those agreements like 15 times. And I think it clearly says in there about not having insurance coverage. Now you're saying that the federal government will pick up the insurance coverage. And then also it says about monies for equipment and other tools and but I don't know when it says that the monies that you are to receive anywhere, and it says, oh, you can use this for insurance. Do you have other documentation? I mean, we deal in documentation and I haven't seen this in any documentation.
As a
About
result
insurance
of the Butler County, what's going on in Butler County, the Butler County Sheriff Mike Sloop reached out to the feds, and they said that money can be used for the alternate insurance.
Do you have that in writing?
Do I have what?
Do you have that? I mean, he talked to them, but do you have in writing that the federal government will pick up the cost of insurance?
I don't have anything in writing. I have no reason to believe that.
I know, but when you go into a court of law, you have to
Hold on,
have stuff
excuse
in
me, I
writing.
think Matt would like.
Yeah, if I could just clarify one quick point, the terms of the agreement do state that when a local official is working under the direction and control of ICE, and as Jamie indicated, it's going to be determined on a case-by-case basis when somebody's operating on a district attorney or sheriff operation, at what point does it then become a federal investigation? The agreement does clearly state that when they are working under the direction and control of the federal government under ICE, that they are considered a federal employee for purposes of, and it's included in the agreement, something called the Federal Tort Claims Act. And that act establishes when an individual can be sued, the parameters for a lawsuit, things like that. It also specifically includes workers' compensation. So there is certain protection that is extended from the federal government. But as Jamie indicated, it is on a case-by-case basis. I think maybe where you were referencing was in the section where it talks about representation. If there is a lawsuit that's filed, the agreement says they may provide representation. The agreement is somewhat clear, however, in the sense that when they are operating under the course and scope of their federal authority, they are considered a federal employee for Federal Tort Claim Act purposes.
Good, thanks.
So, anybody else on this particular topic, or will allow Mr. Dr. Overall to proceed?
As an aside, I have in the past, as a federal employee, I've been defended by the U.S. Attorney on the Tort Claims Act. Okay, and when they say not our responsibility, you're in a tough spot going up against the U.S. Attorney's office, trying to establish that it was their responsibility and you were doing what they told you to do. So that's a long story. A lot of fun though. I'm Tom Overhold. I'm from Cornwall. I was here last month saying who's getting the money and who's spending the money, and where's that going? I haven't seen any outline of the accountability for these 287, and I would request that, again, that the commissioners pay attention to this money, where's it going, and what it's being spent on, liability or all of those other issues. Second issue is of public safety, with which Commissioner Phillips had commented on. And I think that the commissioner should establish some parameters upon which you were going to look at the effectiveness of this money and the enforcement actions and the things that are happening and what's actually going on. How many events, what kind of people, what happens to those people, how many people are determined to be innocent, remembering that in enforcement and removal actions, there's no presumption of innocence. People can be detained for a significant amount of time. My concern is with my neighbors. I was raised to respect the people who do the work. So we have working people in this county who may be targeted under enforcement actions or may be involved peripherally in those kinds of things. I think you should keep track of what's going on. The reason for that is you may find out, if you start tracking these things along, that you are having a counterproductive effect on public safety, in that targeted individuals or people who perceive that they're targeted, or good working Lebanon County working people will stop reporting crimes, will stop reporting suspicious activity. The old, if you see something, say something. If they feel that they may be targeted by poking their head up, so you may end up with more criminal activity and a secretive criminal activity because of enforcement actions, so that our good citizens are not reporting what they're seeing and what they're doing. So in order to decide whether your system is effective or not, you need to measure it. My tradition of coming from healthcare, if you don't measure it, you can't know what's going on, you can't improve it. You should establish some parameters about who's being stopped, who's being detained, what happens to those detention, and what effect is it having out on your community? And how many of those people are, in fact, innocent, right? 70% of people detained in other parts of the country turn out to have no relevant criminal activity, and they are not the worst of the worst. My last point, third point, is what are the commissioners doing to direct children and youth to be able to respond to these detention activities? If families are involved, you'll have children who were born here, born at Good Samaritan Hospital, they're US citizens, they're caught up in an enforcement action. What is children and youth? How are they being trained? Are they prepared to deal with an action of that level?
Thank you, sir. Any additional comments?
Are you going to respond?
No, not prepared to respond at this point.
Okay. Well,
Appreciate your concern.
We've been working on this since your last
There are things that-
comments, and we have communication with the DA, with the sheriff, with the controller.
I appreciate knowing that you're
Yes.
working on
Yes,
it.
we are, we are. And in addition, several people made points earlier about gray areas. None of us like gray areas. So I've already made initiative with some of our federal legislators' offices to notify them that this is an issue that needs to be addressed at the federal level to remove that gray area. So that's not going to happen tomorrow, but I've already started that initiative. So thank you. Any additional? Ma'am,
Still on this subject, or are we allowed?
whatever it's public comment, so you can comment whenever you like. So please introduce yourself and
changes made as far as the ballots were concerned. And I think Commissioner Litz brought up about the hole punch in the envelope. And ironically, my husband filled out his mail-in ballot, and he's not senile. You know, he's a college-educated man, the director of Interstate Compact on placement of children for the state of Pennsylvania. And he had some papers around with his mail-in ballot. And he filled out the ballot, he put it here, and there, bingo. He didn't put it inside the proper.
Secrecy.
So with the current atmosphere of what's going on elections in our whole country, he was afraid to even unseal that it would be considered tampering. And I guess I'm thinking that the suggestion made about the hole punch in here, like if he would have, I don't know, disregarded this, it got mixed up in his papers, it was thrown out and dropped this on, right? Not until election day. I mean, it's addressed, there's a date on it, right? So it would be acceptable. But not until election day, when this is opened up, you wouldn't have this in it, then would that have been counted? Would his ballot have been counted? Because it's not in the yellow envelope.
That would have.
I don't know that that's ever happened.
That would have been something that we would have discovered on election day, and your husband would have gotten a phone call and or an email on election day.
Right, but let's say, as was brought up currently, like somebody said they were watching their grandchildren out of town, they couldn't come back in,
So,
you know, that kind of thing. So it's just one vote, but it's his vote. It's important to him. And I guess I'm thinking that maybe it would have been, along with those other changes, maybe in the future you can consider the little hole punch envelope. So right away, the elections could have, the Department of Election could have said, hey, there's nothing yellow in there. And ahead of time, they could have contacted him. And now he's gonna have, I guess, come in here and have to go and get it all worked out. But anyway, it was just an example of what was brought up earlier. And so I thought I would bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
For listening.
Anyone else? Last call. Thank you. We'll move on. Next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from April 16th. Workshop on April 15th and a session on April 29th, and session on April 30th was the 30th session was an executive session to discuss personnel issues.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, and those minutes are approved. Tobias,
Good morning.
good morning.
Ed Tobias, acting treasurer. We started with a cash balance of $8,317,411.88. We had receipts of $3,281,109. Brought our total cash to $11,598,520.88, with less expenditures of $7,067,686.69, and less tax claim of $64,845.28, which brought our final cash balance to $4,465,988.91.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions or comments? None, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign.
Yeah.
Thank, before you leave too, I had the pleasure yesterday of escorting about 15 students from a government class at Elko High School. They were sophomores and juniors. Anyway, great young kids. And while in your office, at one of the stops that we made, you were talking about the number of properties that are sold due to taxes not being paid and comparing us to other counties. I thought it was a very interesting factoid and it speaks to the integrity of people of Flushing County. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Well, normally by the end of the year, we have a 98% current year tax collection. we're very low for tax sales. And we don't even have a repository at this point. Because all the properties are, Belinda does a fantastic job getting this collected as well. I just think the people in the county maybe are in a better financial situation. I don't know, but we have a 98% collection rate, which is, I think is very high.
Well, comparing to other
Oh,
counties,
yeah.
it-
Yeah.
it's significant. So it's off to our population.
Is that it? Thank you.
Okay, Jamie, I think you're gonna cover our personnel transactions and
Yeah.
you certainly need no introduction.
Yeah, thanks. The HR staff has had some training for a couple of days this week, so I will fill in with the transactions. First, resignations and terminations. Andrew Cody, caseworker 1 in children and youth, resignation effective 4/22/2026. Miranda Reisinger, also caseworker in children and youth, rescinding her acceptance of employment effective 4/20/2026. And now I should have practiced this one. Anayali Sandoval, full-time correctional officer at the jail, termination effective 4/21/2026. Deborah Valentin, a court reporter working for the courts, is retiring effective 7/3/2026. Last day of work 7/2/2026, so July. In the district attorney's office, Amy Mueller, first assistant district attorney, is resigning effective June 12th, 2026. Ada Castillo, District Justice Office Support 1 and MDJ Bissinger's office, a termination effective April 24th. Lindsay Walker, Office Support 2 and Domestic Relations, termination effective May 4th, 2026. Michael Wayman, a part-time court clerk in the Pathonetary's office, resigned effective May 1st, 2026. And Artemis Kale, Deputy Director in Voter Registration, resigned effective May 6th, 2026.
I make a motion to approve the resignations and terminations as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is second. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Approval.
Okay. Changes of status, transfers and promotions. Michael Boyer in Children and Youth from a caseworker 2 to a child abuse investigator at a rate of $1,879.64 biweekly effective May 10th. Christopher Watson from a full-time correctional officer to the work release director at the jail from to a new hourly wage of $25.91 an hour effective May 11th. Matthew Klein, probation officer 2, assistant supervisor in probation services to a probation officer 3, and a new hourly rate of $43.60 per hour effective May 10th.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Have that approved.
New hires at the Area Agency on Aging. They propose to hire George Custer as a adult case manager 2, protective service investigator at a rate of $1843.55 biweekly effective May 18th. Children and Youth, Sarah Rizzo as a caseworker 1 at $1629.56 biweekly effective May 11th. Also in Children and Youth, Aubrey Williamson as a caseworker 1, also $1629.56 biweekly effective May 11th. Sean Kelly as a caseworker 1, also at $1629.56 biweekly effective May 18th. Tabitha Ward, caseworker 1 at $1629.56 biweekly effective also on May 18th. Those separately.
You want to do those to that point?
Yeah, the rest of the not all the courts, but yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the other transactions that were presented.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is second. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign.
Okay, to acknowledge President Judge Tillwalk's hire of Ali Bender as an office support 2 and interpreter 1 in domestic relations at $16.46 an hour, plus a $1,500 annual interpreter one stipend effective June 1st, 2026. To acknowledge prothonotary clerk of courts hire of Troy Williams as a part-time court clerk at $16.50 an hour, effective May 11th. In the public defender's office, Shane Marcus Sen, assistant public defender one at $32.89 an hour, effective May 18th. To acknowledge President Judge Tilwalk's hire of Michael Appleman as adult probation officer one in probation services at $25.83 an hour, effective May 11th. Also for Roman Byler, an adult probation officer one in the probation services office, $25.83 an hour, effective May 18th. Ainsley Schick, a juvenile probation officer one in probation services at $25.83 an hour, effective May 18th. And at the Renova Center, Sierra Steffi, a casual call LPN at $27.31 an hour, effective May 18th.
I'll move to approve those transactions.
Second.
Motion is second. Are there questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, that approval.
Okay, going on to salary board, a motion to approve all transactions previously read, plus the following for Jennifer Eberly, a full-time telecommunicator in the Department of Emergency Services. A longevity increase according to the collective bargaining agreement, as well as Jackson Strickler, to $26.45 an hour. Also Jackson Strickler, full-time telecommunicator in Department of Emergency Services, also longevity increased to $22.36 an hour according to the collective bargaining agreement effective May 10th.
I'll make a motion to approve the salary board.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions, comments? None, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Have that approved.
Audrey up next.
She's
Go ahead.
Alright. Switch gears for a little bit. Okay.
Could you just
Amy, you have the floor, so please introduce yourself.
Right to Jamie.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
like the other JVs here.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Jamie Shoemaker, Administrative Assistant, Bureau of Elections and Voter Registration. And I'm here to talk to you the last time probably about our sticker contest. Out of about 146 entries, we had 2 winners in our 2 different categories.
Jamie, before you go further, would you talk about the contest, the rules and what you did?
Yeah, we started in January, ended it in March 31st. Like I said, we had about 146 entries. We had a lot of support, obviously, from the commissioners. We thank you for that, for supporting our crazy ideas. And thank the media for all the coverage that they gave us. We had some local businesses that supported us and hung up our flyers. Local schools that were very supportive, and the county libraries all supported us. We had, it was open to local students, kindergarten through 6th graders designed the future voter stickers, and the 7th graders through 12th graders designed I voted stickers. I have the winning designs here, and the winners are here to accept their certificates, and I'd like to invite them to come up. We have Elise Stoner from the Paloma School won the I voted. Aubrey Gross from Cedar Crest Middle School won the future voter, and we have Carrie Royer here from the Mount Gretna Art Show also to present them with something. So, and Commissioner Phillips, if you want to come up, present them with their certificates. This is Elise's. And your, get a roll of everyone's stickers. Thank you. This is Aubrey. And Carrie from the Mount Gretna Art Show. That's something for both of you.
Certainly appreciate young artists in our county, so we wanted to give you tickets to the Mount Gretna Art Show for you and your family this summer. And we also went on the Red, White, and Blue theme this year for our milestone. And so here's posters for you as well, and congratulations on your creativity.
Also, want to thank Carrie because she was also very supportive in the sticker contest, posted it on the website, the Facebook, for the art show, so that helped us get the word out a lot too, so we thank you for that. Congratulations, girls, you did a great job. Yeah.
I just want to add, Jamie mentioned crazy ideas that we get involved with, but this is a very activist, lean group we have over in the voter registration office. In addition to all the other responsibilities, Jamie and Anna primarily have, been behind these contests within the schools to try to get awareness built at all levels of our education. We have the older kids coming and spending time in training for representation at our elections so that they're doing interpreting work and a lot of other activities, but it just brings them into the process. We just had the 50-year anniversary people that were represented, and this is all these folks putting this all together. And then on top of it, all the judges received handbooks that you created, so that they have a handbook right with them if things come up. Easy access for answers, as opposed to holding someone that's trying to vote on election day and needs to get an answer. They can refer to the book. So all these things are great, not crazy. Perfect. We really appreciate your efforts.
Bob, if I can add, it's all going above and beyond.
Yeah,
To make sure that we have integrity, but also getting our young people involved.
Thank you.
Good job.
I'll just do a high five.
Thank you.
That's really-
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, John. You please introduce yourself for the record, and then you may proceed.
John Shine, Office of Probation Services, Criminal Justice Advisory Board.
Audrey Fortnett, Director of Probation Services.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners, everyone. We're here this morning to ask your authorization to submit a grant application to the Commission on Crime and Delinquency in the amount of $168,060. This is funding under the Justice Reinvestment Initiative, which is designed to supply supplemental funding for the improvement and upgrading of probation parole services in counties. So in response to the grant announcement, we have prepared a draft of the budget in that amount. And by the way, that particular amount is the maximum amount that we are eligible to apply for under this funding for $168,000, $168,060. How they come up with those funding formulas, I really don't know how they come up with that particular amount. I'm sure there is a method to the madness, but we just don't know that. So I'm not prepared to answer that question, but that's what we're eligible to apply for. Can be spread out over 3 years, where this is really a 2-year project that we have proposed or are proposing to the commissioners for areas that we hope will enhance the training and delivery of a service, which will result in better outcomes for those on under supervision as well as for the general public. One is to supply some funding for a continuous quality improvement officer who would be in charge of coordinating training for new officers and staff members, updating procedures and policies for improved quality for the office. Another one would be supplemental funding for those who attain the position of senior probation officers, which we hope will address the ongoing recurring retention issue that the office has been facing. We also propose contracting with Policy Research Associates, to conduct a sequential intercept model mapping workshop, or a SIM workshop, sometime this fall. That it's a collaborative effort that brings agencies together to identify areas and intercepts that we could use really for those, to divert those with substance abuse or mental health disorders from the criminal justice system, which often leads, of course, to incarceration. And we hope to develop a collaborative effort to identify areas where that could be improved. We had a SIM workshop in 2011. I understand we've applied for funding and assistance 2 other times since then, including recently in January. We were not approved for that funding. So now we hope to use JRI2 funds for this contract with Policy Research Associates to conduct that 2-day workshop for us in the fall. Then the last one is to use some funding to upgrade the portable radios that are used by probation officers in the performance of their duties. That would be working with the Department of Emergency Services. So those are able to communicate with the cell towers and radio towers operated by DES. But that's especially important especially when probation officers are outside the county, maybe on transport and need to be in communication. This would enlarge the coverage area if we're able to do those upgrades with the JRI2 funds.
I just want to thank John because he always does such a nice job with our grant work and it's really beneficial to the department and to the county. I want to touch on a couple things that John mentioned. The SIM mapping will be very beneficial in addition because we are looking at creating a wellness court. And so it will help us to identify for all of the individuals who and participating stakeholders who are going to be involved in that process. It'll help us to map out all of the services that are in Lebanon County. A lot of times, our department might be aware of some services, whereas MHID is aware of others, and Children and Youth is aware of others. And this will help to map out everything that is available in Lebanon County and at our fingertips. In regard to the senior position, this is something that I had looked at since 2024. We have had serious retention issues the past few years. We've lost 6 officers to Berks County, 4 officers to Dauphin County, 2 officers to Schuylkill County, and several other officers to other law enforcement entities. A lot of it has to do with the longevity packages that are built into the contracts, especially specifically in Berks County. The Pike County, who is a Class 6 county, also saw issues. They border New York, and they are surrounded by some state and federal correctional institutions, and we're losing a lot of employees. And so they came up with a plan to increase their starting salaries to be more competitive and have senior positions and an increase for those senior position promotions as well. So I kind of have used a similar concept. They've upped their starting salary to $58,000. Now, I'm not asking for that, but for a Class 6 county, that's it. I'm just showing you the efforts that have been made because of the circumstances. I know we're Class 5, but we're surrounded by those bigger counties. We pull in and train these individuals, spend the money to train them, and then they're being taken and utilized in other counties. I know numbers really speak volumes. So just to share with you, in 2022, we hired and trained 8 new field officers between the adult and juvenile departments. 2 of those officers are still with us. One of them I anticipate leaving in the next few months. In 2023, we hired and trained 6 new officers. 2 of them are still with us. And in 2024, we hired and trained 7 new officers, 4 of whom are still with us. Right now, that comes out to about a 38% retention rate for those 3 years. I would like to see that improve. We have a huge gap between our new employees and our veteran officers, and the veteran officers have fallen off, whether it's retirement or, going to other employment. But we just have this huge gap, which affects training, all the new staff, officer safety. It impacts the delivery of our services to the community. So I do ask that you consider accepting this. We do feel in discussions with the judge, we do feel that this falls under his statutory authority to promote, demote, hire. And we do ask for your support. Additional numbers just in the lost employees. So for instance, when we bring new employees on, just before they're even walking through the door, we're paying $450 for a psychological evaluation. We have money that we have to pay for a drug test. Ballistic vests are up around $1,000 a piece because they're fitted specifically to the person. We do provide initial uniforms. Now the officers then receive uniform stipends and keep replacing the uniforms as needed, but we do provide initial uniforms to individuals when they start. basic training academy and the meals that we reimburse for when they go up to state college or wherever they go for the training. We're looking on average about $2,300 cost just for those items. That doesn't include the hours that are spent interviewing by management team. We conduct Act 57 clearance checks, which when I say hours, I mean hours because I'm the one who does the most of it. Trying to track down previous employers and personal references. There's a lot of time devoted, and then that doesn't even cover the man hours that are spent training someone. The training in the office versus the training in the field, all of the tactical training. There really is a lot involved. And so just looking at those 3 years, on average, I would say lost at least $10,000 in just that initial cost up front. If you look at the amount that is built into the grant for the senior positions, it is lower than that amount at this time. That'll vary year to year. I know that depending on who's eligible to be promoted. But one thing that we are taking into consideration, it's not just a look at the years of service, it is a look at performance as well. So performance evaluations are taken into consideration, and they must have scored satisfactory or above in all areas, or they will not be eligible for consideration until the following year. Thank you.
Good question. So this is a 36-month grant.
Correct.
So what happens the third year? I see you have the first, let me back up a second. So this continuous quality improvement officer, CQI officer, that's a new position?
I do.
Okay.
I have a field position that we're repurposing.
Okay, so then that salary would be
Then be
this.
added back. Yes,
So this is funded, again, it said 36 months in the beginning, but there's nothing funded in the third year. So you're doing full funding of that position the first year, 50% the second year,
correct,
and then it reverts back to a fully county funded
correct,
position.
correct. This, you had the option of choosing whether you wanted a 12-month, 24-month, or 36-month grant period. At first, we were looking at 12-month. When we were totally numbers and we had some left over, I indicated to John, let's put the remainder of that toward the training CQI position. And that came to about half of the salary for the second year. So that's when we extended it to a 24-month grant because I wanted to use all the money that was available. I have also been told that we do anticipate, we all know how that works with the state budget. There is talk that this JRI2 funding will be available again next year. So this particular grant will last 2 years, but there may be an additional JRI2 grant available next year.
So of the 168,
Correct.
equipment, what are the radios? What's the portion of that radios? I'm trying to get down to what in 2026, 7, I guess, is it spans the state budget here or?
No, the grant cycle actually starts April 1st of this year.
Oh, okay.
So the first year, April 1st to March 31st of next year. So
Okay. So currently we're funding another position that you're transferring or transitioning into this position. So what's the net difference, I guess? Do you know that? This is competitive too, right?
No, this is not
It's
competitive.
not. Oh, that's good news.
Yes,
Okay. So you're getting this funding if you
Correct.
apply for it. Good.
correct.
So then,
assuming they don't bring us, ask us to clarify things, of
Yeah.
course, which they
Yeah.
could do, but
you
yeah.
you do a great job, John. They're not gonna question it.
I appreciate that confidence.
So what's the net difference, I guess? You know that?
Do you have the?
If this, after 24 months, it goes away, they don't renew it, let's say, I'm just trying to get to what is the general fund? It's a benefit in the beginning, but what do we end up owning if it doesn't?
I just have the numbers that I know Grace is plugging in for that year and a half. Well, 2 years, but at 50%, it's not a half year.
So the salary, the individual, we already have an individual pinpointed for the position. When you're talking quality assurance and you're talking training, it obviously needs to be a veteran officer, somebody who has years of experience and knows what they're doing. They're familiar with the policies and everything. So it is on the higher end of the salary chart. But it's like 60,000, I believe, around 60,000 right now.
Well, the first year, again, that April 1st of March would be even 59,000, just the way that worked out. Then it works about half that with a projected salary increase, contractual increase of about 4%. That's where we came up with those numbers.
Okay.
Does that answer? Is that what you were looking for?
It doesn't get to the number, but it's, I understand it. What's consultants that's listed as 31,750?
Well, that is the Policy Research Associates to conduct the 2-day sim workshop. Sometime.
Oh, that's the one, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you can get to that number, like what would be the, what you're paying someone now in the position you're going to replace this with, what that goes to, and then what would happen by 2028? If this isn't renewed.
Well,
I mean, it becomes a net cost.
Right. I'm, like I said, I'm hopeful that JRI2 funding will continue to be available.
Yeah.
You don't,
Right.
you don't. It took, I mean, this has been in discussions for years, and this is the first year it's been.
The last question is, when you referred to those turnover and the losses to other counties where POs were hired, was that during negotiations where they didn't have a contract, and so maybe part of it was not?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's been sporadic over the past several years.
Okay. It wasn't just, okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it. Want to back up James' comment about John. The administrative work on these things is, and we don't want to leave any money on the table.
Right.
It gets reallocated. It's tax money at the end of the day for everybody, but, we don't want to leave anything on the table that we'd have to provide these efforts with local taxes if it's available through a state or federal grant. But John, appreciate everything you do with all these, and of course your work as well. But there's tons of work that goes into getting approved for these things, and we don't expect anybody to second guess you.
Well, as long as not anything is being used to supplement it, they're very clear that these have to be supplemental funds, not funds that supplanting things that already be budgeted or paid for by county or by some other grant source. They are not, but these we can talk about the supplemental, but you can anticipate a question or two from PCCB from time to time, and they might. As in particular, as involves the consultant, I don't really know. Depends who's reviewing it at the other end of the wire, as it's. But we'll keep everyone posted as we're coming along here with this. But it is due today, so we'll have to submit it today, so.
And the pleasure of working with John in many capacities, many years on the school board, and now seeing it here, it's hard to imagine anybody doing that job any better. I know how thorough he is, how detail oriented, and so thank you, and good work, Audrey, and your team. But do not have emotional.
I'll make a motion to approve the grant request. I think it was $168,060.
Second motion.
Motion a second. Are there any additional questions or comments at this time? None. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Have that approval.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your hard work.
Plus quality.
Thank you very much.
Anderson, come on down.
Morning,
Please, have a seat, introduce yourself for the record, and you may proceed.
Michael Anderson, Director of Domestic Relations. I am here today to ask for permission to enter into a contract with Laserfish. It is a company that would provide software to us for our docketing files that is currently in the legacy I-5 system. As you know, the IT director has plans to decommission the I-5 later this year. Our docket files from 2016 and before that date that have to be permanently stored are still on the I-5. Several different plans to move those unfortunately fell through for a variety, for instance, one of the issues that we encountered is that we had to have the AOPC, so the court arm, approve the method of how we were storing things. So simple solutions of just having a hard drive on a computer, on a desk, excuse me, don't meet their qualifications. So we did meet with a couple of different vendors and along with IT, so with Danielle and Thomas and a couple of people from my staff, we did meet with Laserfish and we would like to recommend that that would be the company that we transfer those files to.
And your total cost?
So total cost is going to be upfront is going to be roughly, Danielle gave me an estimate about $10,000 to move the files from the I-5, basically get the files off of the I-5. And then the cost summary sheet that's on page 6, which I have here, if you guys do not have that printed. It's roughly going to be about $30,000 for the implementation of the software for the first year. And then just over $16,000 every year in software licensing fees. So we're looking at roughly about 56,000. It looks like the first year, and then about 16,000 year after year for that.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve as presented, and I did check the solicitor has reviewed.
Oh, yes, sorry for the mention.
As
He did.
Daniel and that team.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and second. Are there any questions or comments? None, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. And approval.
Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Booth.
One of the Arthur bodyguards are there.
You're over yonder.
Come on over, Steve. Welcome, gentlemen. Matt, would you introduce your team here, or how do you want to present?
Yes, good morning. Matthew Hughley, Lebanon County Solicitor. And I'll let everybody introduce themselves.
Todd Dissinger, LBRT Treasurer.
John Wenger, President, LBRT.
Steve Kraus, LBRT co-founder.
We are here on the proposed ordinance governing the rules and regulations of the rail trail. As the commissioners are aware, there has been a draft that's been going on that even predates my time as the county solicitor, and I was appointed in January of 2024. So I do want to give credit to Attorney Tim Huber because he played a big role in providing services and drafting this ordinance. In my time here, I, along with members of our LBRT board, have gone back and forth in revising this draft ordinance. We have also sought input and feedback from a number of the municipalities which the trail runs through. We have visited all but 2 of the municipalities, and the 2 municipalities that we have not personally visited, I contacted last week, passed the most current version to them for their feedback and any feedback from their solicitors or their boards of supervisors. Just to note, there were some minor changes that were proposed by some of the municipalities. For example, in the city of Lebanon, when we visited the city last fall, the old version of the ordinance contained a provision that says nobody can be on the rail trail between dusk and dawn. The city, specifically the mayor, had addressed with me and when I was at the meeting with Tom Cote, that they wanted to see a provision where people could be on the trail in the city because it is properly lighted, and also too, because a lot of people in the city use that as a primary mode of transportation, getting from point A to point B in the city. So that was a change that we made in the ordinance, and some minor other items. I do want to note too, there is one section that there were very recent edits that were made by Mr. Wangert and myself. And that edit was actually not even included in the draft that's before you. So I do want to note, and I can have Mr. Wangert talk about that. There has been a lot of discussion regarding e-bikes on the trail, what constitutes an e-bike. So I just want to note, and Mr. Wangert can go into detail a little bit more, and Mr. Dissinger's been on this as well, on this issue. The definition of pedal cycle with electric assist, and in parentheses e-bike, that definition, as it's defined in the ordinance, is exactly mirrored in the Pennsylvania Vehicle Code. So we took the definition of e-bike as it is defined in the vehicle code and incorporated it into the ordinance. And then there was a recent change that Mr. Wangert and I went through, and we are proposing. We'd like to go through that.
Yeah, we just thought we would make it simple, try to simplify how to, because when it comes time to enforce this, how is an officer or a trail representative going to really be able to prove from a distance what kind of bike is flying by at 20 miles an hour? And really the simplest thing, in my opinion, looking at some of the other trails around our region, how they have identified it in their rules is, are they pedaling? Yes or no? Because we're going to add some language that says, no matter what type of bike you have, what class it is, what horsepower it is, how much it weighs, don't really care. Is that person going by you pedaling? If not, it's a problem. We don't want bikes that are not pedal. End of story. If then we further investigate that person, stop them, the next question is, how are you moving so fast? You must have had a throttle. What is that? Is that your throttle? Yes. Okay. You're not allowed on here. 2 questions. How are you moving? You know, I saw you weren't pedaling when you flew by me. And that leads me to believe that you have a throttle assist bike, which we're going to include in here as prohibited.
Yeah, so the language that we included in section 13, and it, like I said, it's a slight deviation from what the version that's in front of you. In paragraph A, only bicycles, pedal cycles, unicycles, and e-bikes as defined in section 1, and that's the definition that's mirrored in the vehicle code, may be used on the trail. The addition from Mr. Wangert and myself, such bikes must be in pedal assist mode only when used on the rail trail, i.e. no throttle. All other e-bikes are prohibited. So we wanted to just clarify that in the ordinance.
I appreciate the simplicity, but I might argue there's an exception to every rule. There are places on the trail where you can coast. I don't pedal when I'm coasting because then I would go too fast. Is common sense applied? I mean, it's in here in writing.
Yeah, I don't think there aren't many places that are that steep.
No, but
But
there are some.
coming down from Mount Gretna, I don't think we're gonna be sitting there waiting for somebody to exceed 20 miles per hour coming down the incline from Mount Gretna towards Cornwall. So common sense will be applied. Yes, it's more, the issues seem to get worse the closer you get to the population center. We were out there last night getting ready for our big event. June 6th is our 30th anniversary event, Taste of the Trail. Quick pitch for that.
They asked me to do that.
And while we were setting up, getting the layout for that event set up, we saw 2 sets of motorized users cruise by us at well over 15 miles per hour, well over the speed limit. So that's, flat. That's where, obviously we would try to enforce this, not at the bottom of a hill.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank the volunteers. 30-year anniversaries, pending here are coming right up, but many of you have been with us since day one. And we're all the time trying to make this the best rail trail in the country. And we're about to, be able to go from E-Town to Swatara, so we're getting there. But that's all because of the volunteers and cooperation with our funders and the county. And it's a great partnership. But this is first reading for us. Do you have a date when you want this adopted?
So the requirement of the county code is that it be adopted or it be advertised once, and the advertisement must run not less than 7 days before. So hypothetically, if we got the advertisement published, it could be considered at our next meeting in 2 weeks. If there is feedback from the board, it depends on whether the changes that are made are substantial, in which case then it would have to be re-advertised. If they're very minor changes, if it's not changing the actual substance of the ordinance, then it can just be adopted possibly at our next meeting in May.
And secondly, how are you going to advertise this is kind of a cumbersome thing for a casual user. How do you get the word out?
So
To the media, of course.
Yeah, so the county code requires that the advertisement contain if it doesn't contain the entire ordinance, it has to contain a brief summary of the ordinance as drafted by me. So I will give sort of a Reader's Digest version of the ordinance, and also a full text of the proposed ordinance gets supplied to the newspaper. It also will be on our website. It will be available here if people want to review the full text of that ordinance as well.
My only final question is there any confusion because on page 4 it says capable of a speed of not more than 20 miles per hour, and you have to read back to page 9 till you find that it's not permitted to travel more than 15 miles per hour on the trail?
I think the not more than 20 language being that we just took it directly from the vehicle code, and it just mirrors the vehicle code. I think the section that we are, the section where it actually restricts e-bikes, that would necessarily supersede. So it would be the 15 mile per hour provision.
Yes, that's correct.
So the 20 miles per hour defines the vehicle,
Yes.
but then further,
You
there's
cannot use
a
it that.
speed limit established, right?
And that's for all bikes.
Will the postings on the trail?
Yeah, we have postings now, right? This just gives us the ability to enforce those.
And
Jim, do you have a question?
Yeah, John, we talked about this a lot of times. You know my feelings on bikes, but that notwithstanding, what do you say to the people that say, hey, allowing an e-bike on the trail gets people out and active who might otherwise not be active? What do you say to that school of thought?
This class 1, I have one. And believe me, it gets me a lot further than I used to, than I used to get, or that I currently can get. So they're quite a big help for anyone. You crank a class 1 e-bike up to 3rd level, the highest level, you can easily stay at 15 miles per hour all day. So it's, I think it's still a big help for a lot of people.
Sure, but beyond like the speeding part of it, what are the reasons this came together in the first place? Why are you looking to keep that particular class of vehicle off the trail?
Well, it's the class beyond that we're trying to keep off. It's
Yeah.
the motorized, number one. I mean, these 2 guys we saw last night, those were basically motorcycles.
Yeah.
Those weren't bikes. So you have to draw the line somewhere to be able to enforce it.
so class 1s are allowed. It's
Yeah,
not
class
prohibiting all league bikes. Class 1s are allowed.
Yeah,
It's not the point that LVRT is against e-bikes. I'm out in the trail 5-6 times a week. And doing maintenance, we run across people all the time that are really happy that they can, like John said, they can go farther. Some of them said it's helped with their health. So we just need, even us as workers out there, to get some of these slow down. I mean, we've almost got hit. There was a bad accident here what about 2 weeks ago? And it was right there on the spur coming off the North Cornwall Commons. A woman and a man, somehow they hit each other. And they even admitted to the police officer that they were going between 33 and 35 mile an hour. So, on a trail where there's kids, dog walkers, older people, we just don't need it. So.
So, bottom line is that these rules, once adopted, can be enforced by any law enforcement that exists in in their jurisdiction that the trail passes through. I also noticed, sorry, get back to the wording here about enforcement. County of Lebanon and LVRT officials, as well as law enforcement, shall have the authority to direct any individual to leave the trail. So LVRT board members on behalf of you can confront someone and say, and ask those 2 questions, for example, that John gave, and ask someone to leave the trail, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is a provision in section 2, the duly appointed representatives of LBRT are authorized to act as an agent of the county with respect to implementing the provision of this ordinance.
Do commissioners get badges? They were asking.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It'd be cool. Then the sheriff can hire me too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work. You guys have done a swell job.
Any action?
Yeah, so I would ask a motion to authorize the advertisement of the version either as presented, or if you have any suggested revisions, and then we'll get it advertised and on the agenda for a later meeting for final adoption.
As amended by, that little language change in section 13.
I'll second the motion.
So we're seconding our motion and second. Do we have any additional questions or comments regarding the motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, no same sign. Have that approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. See everybody June 6th.
See you again. Thank you.
See you in church.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. And before you proceed with the others, just correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at the agenda. It notes these properties at 319, 321, and 529. I think that should be 539 on the agenda. Is that correct? Look at the documents.
Yes,
Okay,
539.
so we'll
Yes.
note that typo on the
Yes,
agenda.
we don't want to be selling somebody's property that we don't own. So, the final item I have for consideration by the board this morning is a deed, draft deed from the County of Lebanon to the City of Lebanon, the Land Bank. As the county commissions are aware, the city owns 3 properties. These were formerly utilized by CAP. And there was a subsidized housing program through the state. And that program has since gone away. And so now we have engaged appraisals. We've received an amount, and we've also engaged the services of attorney Tom Long to finalize the sale from the county to the land bank. So the total amount for the 3 properties, as listed in the deed, $398,000.00. It can all be listed on one deed, all 3 of the properties, being that it's the same grantor, the county, and the same grantee, the land bank. So I would ask for your approval, and I have the original copy of the deed. If approved, can be signed by all 3 of you.
Could you repeat that number? 298,000.
$398,000.00. 398.
Okay, thank you.
I may add to that, 2 things. One, it's my understanding, I mean, these have been vacant now for some time. We did have tenants in there, and we've vacated them to prepare for this transfer. The city, as I understand it, intends to, through the Housing Redevelopment Authority that administers the city land bank, intends to do any work to the homes that's needed, and then turn it around and sell it for owner occupied housing. Secondly, wanted to mention the $398,000, the proceeds of this will go back to cap for programmatic uses in the community action partnership department. Since the funds were first acquired by them for this purpose, it must revert back to them. So it's not, this doesn't go into the general fund. It goes into further programmatic uses. Yep, support.
So I'd ask for two motions, the first being approval of the property conveyance as indicated in the deed. And the second would be approval of the invoice for a Long Bright bill. We can go through that after the first.
So it's time to entertain a motion for the conveyance as Matt described.
I'll make a motion to approve the sale of the 3 properties as presented.
Second. Second, questions or comments?
One other clarity for the Long Bright bill, that these were actual out-of-pocket costs. Tom Long is our assistant solicitor, so there wasn't any compensation for Tom beyond being assistant solicitor. Yeah.
So anyway, additional questions or comments? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, same sign.
And the next motion would be approval of the invoice that's been provided from the Welcome of Long Bright bill. The amount that's included there is, as you'll see at the bottom, those are fees from the Recorder of Deeds office, recording fees, as well as transfer taxes on the 3 conveyances, on the 3 parcels that are being conveyed. So the total amount for Long Bright bill would be $7,877.85.
Second.
Motion and second. Questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. You have that approval.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mr. Walden.
I've got 4 items to finish up with here. The first being a proclamation for 2026 National Police Week. And this is in anticipation of the observance of the Police Officers Memorial Day, which will be on May 12th in front of the DES building, weather permitting. So next Tuesday, I believe it starts at 10.
Yep.
So it has to get approval on that proclamation, which will then be presented at the event.
Make a motion to approve the proclamation for National Police Week.
Second. Motion and second. Jamie, would you like to read that?
Oh,
on the
yeah.
record?
Sure. Whereas Police Officers Memorial Day was created and established as May 15th by an act of Congress to pay special recognition to those law enforcement officers who gave their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. Whereas the members of the law enforcement agencies of Lebanon County play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the county. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, by protecting the innocent against deception, and the weak against oppression and intimidation. And whereas the police departments of Lebanon County have grown to be modern and scientific law enforcement agencies which unceasingly provide vital public service. Now therefore, we, the commissioners of Lebanon County, call upon all of our citizens and all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 11th through 17th as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies in which all may join in commemorating police officers past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Further, we encourage all citizens of the County of Lebanon to observe May 12th, 2026 as Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or become disabled in the performance of duty.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. And that be happy to present that, and I appreciate our district attorney organizes this event and all who attend, and God bless those who serve our community.
Okay, next I have exemption from real estate for disabled veterans who meet the qualifications of the program, requirements of the program. They are Elvina Butler of Sweetwater Lane, Nimitstown, Billy Jim Hartman of Birch Avenue, Mount Gretna, Christopher Hauk of Miley Street, Lebanon, Greta Stuber of Heidelberg Avenue, Schaeferstown, Janet Core of Lakeview Drive, Myerstown, and Larry Garlock II, Parkside Drive, Anvil.
I will so move.
Second.
Motion second, questions, comments? None, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, that approval.
And lastly, we have two applications for hotel tax grant funding. The first, in order of their arrival, the first is for Gretna Productions, doing business as the Gretna Theater. This is for the Gretna Theater, Lancaster and Dauphin Counties Marketing Initiative in Mount Gretna. The total project cost is $10,000. They're asking for a grant of $5,000. They did a pretty good job with their attached grant application. They did note that 19% of their audience comes from Lebanon County, the rest from outside of the county, Lancaster, Dauphin, Cumberland, Berks, and York. And of those the remainder, 8% of ticket buyers are from out of state. So they do demonstrate a regional draw of programming and the role Gretna Theater plays in bringing visitors into Lebanon County. That's part of what they listed throughout here, but that's just a specific mention of out of state.
Can I ask a question? We approved something similar before. Was that the theater versus,
It was Gretna, but it was another organization.
so it wasn't the same organization? I
No,
just wanted.
no, they're a handful there that
Okay, then I'll move to approve the request for the $5,000.
I will second the motion.
Motion and second, are there questions or comments? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign.
Okay, I was going to mention, probably should have started with that. There's approximately $9,500 in the fund. So that would have been 5,000 of it so far to encumber that. The next one is application number 14. This is the Community of Lebanon Association. The project is the flowers for hanging baskets and planters. They have 70 hanging baskets planted and hung by Integrity Landworks throughout Lebanon City. They have additional flowers for the 24 pots which line Cumberland Street, and this year have chosen red, white, and blue flowers to match the 250th anniversary banners on the light poles. They are requesting a $10,000 grant of the total project cost of $12,500. So this is more than the $5,000 limit to it. You of course can waive your own rules to the program, but pointing that out.
Didn't we just discuss this and say it was not bringing tourists into the county? And so therefore we did not move ahead with it?
This is the first,
There was one
we
for
did that in
Campbelltown.
county.
This one's
This is new.
And so that would be a similar situation here?
I agree that with our redefined rules and guidelines, that this isn't a perfect fit for that, but I want, this may be the last round for them with the fact that we did provide funding to help reduce the manpower needed to
Yes.
keep these flowers.
Yeah, you allocated about somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,000 for self-watering.
Yes.
I think self-watering
So that would be,
devices.
You know, it's a big help. I would appropriate maybe $2,500 with the idea that this would be the last year that we would be doing it.
That's the form of a motion.
CLE does a lot and they still have some costs associated with that. I don't want to go beyond that. But if we don't get a second, then that's
A motion for to apply this application with a supplement of $2,500. Do we have a second?
I respectfully decline. I just want to be consistent with what we did for Campbelltown.
I will second the motion. Questions or comments? None? All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Same opposed.
I'm going to oppose, yes.
So to the one that is approved at 2,500.
Everything I have.
Any,
Can
anything
you
else?
clarify, did that motion include that this is the last year we're going to do it, 25 and the last, I mean, because that's what
I'm suggesting
Commissioner
that
Foster
because of,
suggesting it, or is that in the motion?
no, next.
Motion was for $2,500. That was just a comment that it's.
Oh, well, because I didn't know what the motion.
Yeah, sorry, that was meant to, for the last, 15 years, we've given them 12,000, 10,000, whatever. And the idea was that we would be reducing our participation based on the money that we were providing them that would require lower manpower, in terms of watering and maintenance. So I just figured they requested 10, maybe they weren't totally tuned into what we were trying to accomplish with the donation last year, so $2,500 they're vital to the downtown, the CLA, and I wanted to show some support for that as we end the participation, or in my part in the participation anyway.
Anything else for the good of the order? No, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you all. We stand adjourned.
So,